Welcome to the Super Intelligent Podcast, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Mike Elgin. With me is Emily Forlini, and we are the Super Intelligent Podcast. And I'm happy to let Emily announce that she's got a new job. So you grabbed your goldfish and you stormed out of PC Mag, and then what happened?
Then I went on maternity leave and I became a crazy person, and I, for some reason, applied to a job on zero sleep, and I actually got it, which was a miracle. And it's a good one. So I'm going to be reporting on AI at Fortune. I'll be doing it from their office in New York, and it certainly was not a rage quit on PC Mag. I was excited to go back there too, but I just feel like it's going to be a good new adventure. It's a new publication, new learnings. A bunch of new stuff. My whole life is changing, so it's a very exciting time.
Fantastic. New publication. I didn't know that it was a new publication.
Well, I just need a different place to work.
For you. It's new to you.
But it does have a print mag. I'm like, wow, that's cool.
Yeah. Yeah. What a concept. Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So it's going to be all formats, like even print, and there's going to be a lot of event moderating, which is something I love to do. Podcasting. Yes. They're starting a daily show. They hired actual talent for this show. It was not going to be me.
Well, you'll be a guest on those shows.
Maybe.
No
doubt. Yeah. I hear that my new boss is going to be doing an AI podcast, so maybe I'll contribute there. What else? Video. And then, of course, just online journalism. So it's going to be really fun.
All right. Well, I hope it is, and certainly the content that you're going to be immersed in is the same content that we're immersed in on this podcast. So that's going to be really, really cool. Now, we were casting about for which of the many, many, many stories and trends that are happening in technology that we would talk about today. And you sent me this article that I had seen it was written semi-recently by Julia Angwin, and it's about basically the beginning of the end for Meta. And it's more than just wishful thinking on Julia's part, because she basically spells out all the warning signs for Meta as a company. In general, if I can summarize the article, in general, they've just been making all kinds of super bad, very expensive mistakes. And by they, I mean Mark Zuckerberg has been choosing to embrace the metaverse, which I basically was my full-time job for a little while, crapping all over the idea of the metaverse. The perfect, what do they call it? Torment Nexus, right? Torment Nexus is something from dystopian fiction that is written by an author as a warning to mankind, and then Silicon Valley bros come along and go, wow, that sounds like a great thing to do. Let's do that. That's a Torment Nexus, and that's basically what the metaverse was. Metaverse was always a dystopian nightmare. And he's like, hey, yeah, let's do that. So, so $100 billion investments in things like the metaverse, in their AI, in all these things that are not going anywhere and not making the company succeed. And meanwhile, they're killing it in ads and so on. So what do you think of this thesis of Julia's that Meta's days are numbered? And by numbered, I mean, she claims that the company will slowly die and become the new Yahoo at some point.
Right. I like it. I think it's interesting. The stat that's most compelling to me is that their user base declined for the first time, which feels like a big moment. And I think she made a good case. She says, first sentence is, there's a moment when internet companies get the stink of death on them. And I think she makes a good case for that.
Definitely true. And if one thinks about the whole history of Facebook and Meta, what were the good things that they came up with? Besides the Facebook social network, they bought Instagram, they bought WhatsApp, they copied Snapchat and everyone else. If anybody came out with some feature or something that was more compelling than what they were offering for their social networks, they would just copy it. TikTok's a big example. They TikTokified Instagram and Facebook, and this is a company with no vision at all. And it all comes from Mark Zuckerberg because of the way that the company's financials are structured. He can't be fired. He controls the company as a shareholder. and hired himself to be CEO and so on. And so it's just, he just decides, oh, we're going to invest in the metaverse because I think that's a great idea. And then they invest infinite amounts of money on it and it goes nowhere. And he's like, well, never mind that. We're going to do this other thing.
And then the company is still named Meta. It's still named Meta. Exactly. Which is so funny. It's like it's scar, this bad memory that we're still talking about on this podcast.
One of the things I like, delicious ironies I like, is that they renamed the company Meta to sort of rename it after the metaverse, obviously. And now the name of the company doesn't make any sense. But one of the few areas of success that they've had is with the Ray-Ban Meta glasses. And it's a thing nowadays with the Meta Ray-Ban display glasses. It's a thing that you wear as glasses that you can read on it. There's a little screen. So it's kind of like a Facebook. But they don't, the company is a great name. The
Facebook name is dead. I mean, nobody I know talks about Facebook at all, ever. It's like fully dead to younger generations.
To younger generations it is, but I suspect that a lot of younger people, it's the only way that they're going to interact with their grandparents or with, their distant aunt, whatever. And that's what sustains it is I still use Facebook. And the only reason I use Facebook is it's simply a choice of not having any connection to, 30 or 40 people, friends, former colleagues and so on, who just are not going to get off Facebook.
Yeah.
And so that's the choice. And so it's like this vestigial limb, right? That's just kind of still going because it's still going. And people go to Facebook because people go to Facebook. And like you say, a lot of younger people have no need to go there at all because they're not really interested in doing that. But it's really kind of weird. And instead of social is kind of dying as a life force in our culture in general. And, Meta's solution to that has been, well, let's make virtual users. Let's just create VR. Let's create AI users, and wow, we can just double, in a short period of time, which is so dumb. Nobody wants it.
It's actually laughable. It's hilarious, actually. It's like, let's make up fake users and fake people and just populate all of our apps with them, and they're going to make us money too, and we'll figure it out, and it'll be great.
Yeah. Or another thing that they are doing is they have like so many companies, they have a video editing, like an AI tool, like for creating AI videos. But the thing that they're doing that makes it meta is that they're allowing you to @mention people and their face shows up into your video. So you can basically make videos with the likenesses of users, as long as the picture is private. I'm sorry, if it's public. If it's private, they don't allow it. But if it's public, I can just go in there and just have there can be some person that I know and just make a video with their name in it.
That's crazy. And I'm sure they enable it. They enable it, and then people don't know that they're getting videos with their face or being made and put on the internet. And then, yeah, I don't think they put out good stuff. I think that's how I would summarize it. And to me, the death of Meta is more kind of in the strategic business decisions that they've been doing, starting with the metaverse. It literally died. Like, I think it fully died. And then recently with AI, Mark Zuckerberg comes out at first 2-3 years ago. He's like, open source is the next big thing. They had their Llama model. He was all in. He was making speeches about it, posting blogs about it. This is going to be our differentiator. And it did okay, but he's already abandoned that. Now he's like, we're going to do something else. And he hires that Alexander Wang guy, Alexander with just R at the end, not ER. That's the difference between him and the designer. But
like Flickr or Tumblr.
Yeah, Alexander, like .io probably. They hire him for $200 million. That was his rumored pay package. And money cannot buy good business strategy, good products. And that's what we're seeing here. And now then they started tracking their employees, and they were like, you guys are smarter than the average person, Mark Zuckerberg says in an all hands. So we're going to, try to model our AIs off of you, and we're going to start tracking all of your computer clicks, and we're going to put that into our models. And then everyone's, this is terrible. Why do I work here? There are headlines that morale is just plummeting. And now he's saying, oh, actually, our AI restructuring didn't go that well. And it's just feeling like a big train wreck.
Meanwhile, he's killing it in advertising. They made $200 billion last year in advertising revenue. So they're basically an ad company and have very little else from a business perspective. And so I think that's how he's sort of justifying the existence of all this other stuff that they keep doing. They're continuing dabbling in AI because they have this intuition that, with AI, we can somehow figure out how to attract eyeballs and keep selling ads and all that kind of business that they actually pays the bills. But as we both know, any sort of online advertising, even non-online, offline advertising, is a terrible business. Like it's subject to catastrophic sudden collapses in what the market will bear, and so that's not a good route for the company, I don't think.
It's also just entirely boring and stinks of death. It is not visionary. I mean, they're probably still making money on display ads, but I think I don't know if, let's see, is it dying? I don't know. It doesn't look promising right now. I do think one thing that might make it not die is if Zuckerberg steps down. Bezos stepped down. It's a thing that's possible that they can do, and I think it's time for him to go.
Yeah. Or they could just choose to keep, making money with advertising. I mean, think about the airline industry. The airline industry used to make their money selling airplane tickets. And then they thought, well, how could we get more people to prefer our airline over others? We'll give them miles and points for flying. And so it's a great deal for business travelers because business travelers can choose the airline, and then their companies pay for their tickets, and then but the company doesn't get the miles. The individual person who chose the airline gets the miles. And so that sort of evolved into these credit card things where you can get miles by spending money on a credit card, yada, yada, yada. Fast forward to the current day. And now the whole airline industry, the flying, the airplanes, the pilots, all of that stuff is just it's just a way to get customers to use the credit cards and use the financial services. They lose money on the airlines.
I didn't know that.
But yes, and they make all their money on these points, like the shell game that they use with points, and getting people to chase all these financial services that they offer.
I didn't know that about airlines, but I am curious. Do you think Zuckerberg should step down?
Of course, absolutely. He's a train wreck. I also don't understand why people who were worth hundreds of billions of dollars keep going to work. Why doesn't he just live on his Hawaiian island and just live in heaven and just have fun and just do whatever he wants to do and go put too much sunscreen on and go on one of those motorized surfboards? And why doesn't he just do that stuff? Like, why keep showing up to the grind? Just pure ego? Like, what do you think it is? Pure ego.
I think ego, period, full stop. I mean, he loves being at those Trump dinners with all the tech CEOs. And I think that's also why he hasn't stepped down. He wants to be in the mix. Bezos stepped down from Amazon. Now he's not invited to those dinners. And I think more broadly than him, what I've been thinking about recently is just society is valuing wealth at a rate that I think is insane. Like, I don't know what you're going to do with all that money. $200 million pay packages. Now everyone's like, oh, I want to get rich in AI. It's like, what are we doing? I mean, what are you going to do with that? You're going to have epic vacations, or just the amount of money people think that they need and that they're just gunning for and working so hard for makes absolutely no sense to me at all. I don't know what the heck is going on.
It's not just that people are trying to make scads and scads of money. They're also trying to pretend like they are. So there's a really great piece in 404 Media about this trend where there's this entire industry of services that help you fake success. And the whole idea is if you're a an influencer, and you're trying to show that I can show you how to make a ton of money. And it was really funny the way they did it. It's like, I made millions of dollars selling $5 subscriptions to 404 Media stuff. And now I have a jet and all this. And so there are companies that, the way it used to work, it keeps snowballing out of control. So what they used to do is put themselves in situations that look very exclusive and expensive, amazing vacations, like always on a private jet. And so companies emerged where you can go and they have a jet in a hangar, and you go and you take pictures and videos in that jet, for an hour, and it costs you like $500 to do that for the hour. And then people started challenging them, saying, you're not really doing that. So it's like, oh yeah, here's my Stripe dashboard showing all the money I'm making. And so if an industry emerged where you could fake Stripe dashboards, and it's like vibe coded applications where you can just put in any number. Oh, look, I'm making millions of dollars an hour. But actually the real grift is that you're teaching other people how to do it. So you have a course, and a course to show people how they can get rich. And so step one is to pretend like you are succeeding, and then you con other people into thinking that they can succeed like you do. But actually the money is in the pretending and the lying, and it's not in the actual whatever the thing is that they appear to be selling. But this is part, insane. Like you say, but this is part of the culture, this culture of attraction to wealth that is just really stupid, because a lot of the people, I've known influencers, we travel all over the world, and the people who are like online influencers who show themselves in beautiful places, they're like miserable. They're like, we have to do 2 videos a day. And it's like they spend all their time stressing out about these videos. They don't enjoy them. And then when the camera's on them and they're recording, they pretend to be living this happy life of leisure. But as soon as they cut it, they're like, oh my God, I got to do the next thing. And it's like, I've known some of these people personally. It's really bizarre.
It's really sad. I think there's just a collective, there's also the loneliness epidemic. It's like, what are we doing? I think people are just searching for meaning, and they're searching for something, and they're looking for a purpose. And I think they're finding a lot of purpose in this pursuit of wealth. They're getting a lot of people liking their photos, or they're, feel like people are paying attention to them if they're making money. And it's really sad. And I just feel, especially maybe as I report about on the tech industry, the numbers being thrown around, $5 billion for AI data centers. I mean, just the whole money situation right now is sick. I think it's like sick in the head, and everyone is so the dominant culture is so off course. And of course there are many people that are not caught up in this. And I think I just see it because we're reporting on the tech industry, which is just money, 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 money. That's all it's about right now. But it's really off. And I almost think it should be like a national emergency. Like I want some different president, some leader to just say, all right, everybody, we have a loneliness epidemic. Everybody invite over a friend tonight. We all need to, as the youngins say, touch grass. Like, I just think we need leadership that's like, hey, these are huge problems. Our culture is not doing well. But of course we don't have that.
Well, we have the opposite. We have leadership, quote unquote leadership, that is just fully participating in all the toxic
accelerating
trends.
It. And I don't think there's anything wrong with making money. I think it's good to have a country with a good GDP. And, I'm not like, oh, we need to go backwards. I just think the culture around it and in which we live is sick. It's ill.
Jimmy Carter sold his peanut farm so to remove the appearance of corruption.
Right. Like, what a concept.
Like, people were going to buy his peanuts because he was the president. So he sold the farm.
And George Washington's whole thing, if you've read, his farewell address, or his whole deal was he didn't want to be president, and that he did it out of duty. I know. I'm like, is that true? But theoretically, that was considered a value at one point. Whenever they made up that myth, it was considered a good thing. So whether or not it's true, it's what they became of it says something about the culture at this time. And now it's just shameless self-promotion is the law of the land.
You referenced the insanity around the economics of AI and AI data centers and so on. I did a piece a couple weeks ago about how exactly AI data centers are raising prices on everything. So they're raising prices of chips and memory and storage, all the things that computers need, and to the point where even Apple is raising prices on things because supply and demand is really crunching it. Samsung is just going to be one of the most valuable companies in the world because they make some of these components that are so rare now and difficult. And this, as it looks right now, it's going to be 5 years of shortages and difficulties and elevated inflationary prices for phones, laptops, all that stuff. And it raises prices on cars because cars also have a lot of computer components, and it raises taxes, and it raises the price of housing because data centers want to get close to places where there's already existing source of electricity, which are also where you want to build houses. And so now
and it raises
housing
electricity.
Developments have to compete. And so the prices go way up because there's so much more competition for this stuff. It just goes on and on, the number of things. And so we are all bearing the burden of these price hikes. And then a tiny number of people are just making bank on the data centers. And it's like, why aren't they bearing the burden?
Right. Like, and also, even they are misguided is what I'm saying. We are bearing the burden for other people who are making too much money. It does not make sense. Like the whole system isn't, I don't really think it's benefiting them that much. I think they're off their rocker. And then our electricity bills, utility bills are going up. So the whole thing, and I don't want to be like anti-AI too much. I just think the system in which it's being built upon is not strong.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go to Silicon Valley and set up a little stand, like a lemonade stand, but I'm going to sell chips, like tortilla, potato,
yes,
right outside the OpenAI office, and sell chips.
With storage, like little bags with the clips for your chips. It's a great idea. I think it'd be very popular. There's a Japanese restaurant in Menlo Park that's going out of business because there's a big development related to Meta across the street. So it's like a real estate development corporation that's it's like a company that's sort of owned by Meta, and they want to use the space across the street. So they're just buying up everything. And so this Japanese restaurant that's been there for like 20 years is being run out of town and driven out of business, basically, because just of this beast that is just growing and growing in Menlo Park because of Meta. There's megalomania involved here. The idea that you have to be a giant thing like OpenAI's system, a giant model, has been proven wrong by the Chinese. Mm-hmm. They're doing this stuff at a cost of pennies on the dollar, and granted, they're stealing a lot of it. But still, what we need to get to a place where we have small language models that exist on the edge, that where they're doing minimal processing. Kind of what Apple's doing with Siri and Apple Intelligence on phones is perfect. They basically have a little sort of traffic cop, electronic traffic cop that says, okay, that query looks pretty easy. Let's just do it locally on the device. Or that query looks, medium hard, so we'll just use it. You'll do it with Apple Intelligence. Or, wow, this looks like a really tough one. Let's spin this out to our new Gemini model, the model that Apple developed based on Gemini for some serious processing, and which ends up being like 12, 15, 18% of queries actually need some giant model. So like I use the most powerful AI imaginable, and I'm asking the dumbest things that I absolutely don't need, any of that stuff. Like, what's the capital of South Dakota or something like that? I'll take that to they probably cost them $5 to answer that question.
You press the deep learning button. You're like deep research.
Yes.
Go in all the archives, find all the capitals, find the history of when it was this city and it moved to that city. It's like too much.
And then I get irritated. I'm like, no, just tell me in one sentence.
Yes. Sometimes I'll say, tell me in one sentence, because I just get frustrated.
I say it all the time.
Yeah. But that's why when I'm using the free version of ChatGPT and it's, their worst model, I'm like, fine, great. That's good enough for me.
Yeah. Not me. I'm wasting money hand over fist.
How do we get here from Meta? I think what draws me to the Meta dying theme is almost relief, like the end of this era, which I think needs to end. Just with we're talking about with the culture. We talk about problems with tech all the time. The idea that Meta might not exist one day, to me, just feels like we can move on. And I'm sure something worse will pop up. Well, I'll have brain implants and we'll have craziness beyond Meta. But the idea of Meta dying, I love.
Well, you'll love this even more. There's a possibility that they will be murdered, not just die of natural causes.
True crime.
There are 4 states.
Meta?
Yeah, exactly. There are 4 states that are suing Meta for $1.4 trillion. Now, Meta's market cap is $1.5 trillion. So this is like most of their value. And basically what they did was it's like California and 3 other states. I don't recall what the others are. And they all have laws against deliberately addicting minors to various things. They actually have these laws in the books, and there are fines associated with them. So what they did was they said, well, here's the fine per user. How many users total? $1.4 trillion is the sum when they did that math. And so what's interesting is that there was another lawsuit by another individual state, that was very similar, and Meta lost. And in that case, because of that one state, it was hundreds of millions of dollars. But there's a precedent for them losing these kinds of lawsuits. And this actually goes to trial in Oakland, I think, next month or something. So this is going to be, you're going to be covering this.
Yeah.
And so I just think wouldn't that be fascinating? Because really the reason I hate Meta is because they're unethical to an extreme. They had to be forced by the government of India to stop serving up explicit ads for child CSAM content, where they're just literally advertising CSAM material as an ad that people were buying on Meta. And they're like, well, this doesn't, they always lie about everything. They're like, well, this doesn't violate our terms of service. And so that sort of thing just goes on and on and on and on and on. They're like a tobacco company where they know about the harms they're causing, and they're like, yeah, but there's so much money to be made. Let's just go ahead and cause those harms.
And it starts at the top. It all has to go back. It has to fall on Mark Zuckerberg. And then there was also the Cambridge Analytica thing. Did you see that documentary? Which is just the whole misinformation and the election. I mean, they have so many skeletons in their closet. But I think that's why it's interesting to me that they're just starting to lose users now. I do think most people don't care about all this bad blood, or they don't care about Mark Zuckerberg. When I'm using Instagram, I'm not thinking about Mark Zuckerberg. I'm not thinking about Cambridge Analytica. I'm not thinking about all the addicting minors, the CSAM, the millions of things I hate about their company culture. But the fact that they're losing users, to me, is what stinks of death more, because that means there's something really wrong. People are bored, I think, with their products.
The entire operation is geared toward growing that number that you pointed out is shrinking. Growing not only the number of users, but the amount of time each user spends. All those things are on the ropes now suddenly. And I think the reason most people don't care about the ethical transgressions are that they don't have a sense that they are using a company's product when they use these products. They have a sense that they're communicating with people. It's like when you call somebody on the phone and have a conversation on the phone, you're not thinking, oh, I'm using the product of
right. You're
not
like,
company.
Oh, this is Verizon, this is AT&T. You're just doing your thing.
You're talking to this person who's your friend or your family member, or whomever, and so that's the illusion of social services. I mean, I got a ton of friends in Europe, and in Europe they only use Meta products. Like I know so many people, their only chatting is on WhatsApp, their only social is on either Instagram or Facebook or both.
Mm-hmm.
And they would never consider to be on the, activity pub type, Mastodon type things. They would never think about using, Threads, even though Threads is another Meta product, which, by the way, there's indication that it's as big as Twitter now.
Mm-hmm.
But they don't, I guess there's some use of Threads by a lot of these people because Instagram kind of like kicks you over to Threads sometimes.
Right.
And sort of they leverage their existing properties to make this one work. But
okay, actually, they did a good job with that. I think
Threads?
Yeah, there's some good stuff on there. Maybe that's the one thing that they've been successful at, but it feels like an old concept. Like, oh, they just made Twitter late and it worked. Yeah.
Somebody was doing, there were people grabbing eyeballs elsewhere. So like, well, we'll have our TikTok, and we'll have our Twitter, and we'll have our, our Snapchat, and they figured out how to satisfy the demand from different types of media by just stealing the ideas. Obviously, Threads is a attack on Twitter, and they explicitly said that in the beginning. They're like, okay, if you want to flee Twitter because of Elon Musk, you can flee to Threads.
Yeah, with the Blue Sky, I think it was around that era. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, okay, maybe we can end with a prediction. When do you think that Meta will die, and what will be the form of death? It is like Clue in the billiards room with a candlestick.
Yes. Well, I don't think it's going to die. The way that Julia defines death, the author of that piece we mentioned, is that it becomes like Yahoo or maybe Tumblr or one of these other things that's still around.
Yeah, they didn't die. AOL. They just faded into the background.
Right, they're bought by financial services companies that figure that they can just make some changes and make it this slow burn profitable business over time. So I think that I think they're just going to be around forever, and they're just going to be they're going to become, their social stuff is going to become irrelevant, along with social stuff in general, right? Mm-hmm. So that is already going to happen. I think social media is kind of dead in a way. They're gonna screw up the AI glasses thing. In fact, they're already doing it. They made a big step in that direction. I don't know if you saw this, but they basically said, okay, we have all these advanced features, so you got to pay $20 a month if you want to use them. And so this is a kind of a slap in the face for people who thought, okay, I'm buying the glasses for $300 to $500, and now I get to do all this AI stuff. And one of the most egregious examples of this is one of the features is that it will boost the audio of people you're talking to in real time. So if you're in a loud place or you're hard of hearing, you can just throw a switch and it will boost the audio. Well, if you want to use that service, you have to pay the $20 a month. Turns out that entire feature happens on device. They're not using tokens or any sort of external thing to do that. That's just a thing the glasses are capable of doing by themselves without a connection even. And they're just, it's just money grabbing. And they also limit that. Even if you pay, you can only do it for like 15 hours a week or a month or something like that. And so they're limiting it. So that kind of thing.
They do a bad job.
I've always predicted that they've been losing money on Meta glasses. But, keep losing money until this market is established and you've established yourself as number one. Now is not the time to start nickel and diming users. This thing is about to blow up. And if they actually, I think if I was, in charge of Meta, that's where I would put all the effort, because AI glasses are going to be gigantic. Mm-hmm. And so I think AI glasses are going to basically feed off of a phone for a long time, for 10 years. The phone is going to be this server and the connection to the outside world. And Meta, which doesn't have a phone, could figure out how to do it without a phone, maybe a watch or something like that.
So you think they're going to be around? Yeah.
Yeah, they'll be around. Meta will be around till the end of time. What about you?
I think they're gonna be chugging along for a long time, just like Facebook is. People go to Facebook Marketplace, they talk to those 20 people. I think all their platforms will retain one or two useful features that keep people coming back. I think Zuckerberg will step down in 10 years. That's my theory. I think his ego has 10 good years in it when he starts to feel old, he starts to feel like he's in a new season of life. He wants to start some trendy new company, he'll be out, and I give him 10 years.
Do you predict that he will have his own rocket company?
He will have whatever is trendy with very little runway, and he's going to go all in on it. That's what he's going to do. All right, well, thank you for joining us. It's been a while. We're back. This was a fun one. I liked it. This is a Super Intelligent podcast. We are going to keep doing these things. I'm going to start my new job. We're going to have new material. Thank you so much, as always, for listening, and we'll see you next time.